Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We're glad to have all of you here today. This is Josh Koza, the Client Experience Manager at the Exit Planning Institute, and I'm excited to see many familiar names and a few new names for those of you listening in, so we're very excited for that. And we're very excited to have Christine Hollinden presenting today on the topic of marketing solutions and strategies for professional advisors. Christine and her firm are partners of EPI. For those of you who have been at a previous EPI summit, you may have met her or seen her there, and she'll be participating again and is actually providing one of the general sessions this year as well, so we're very excited for that. But I'll let Christine do a little more intro of herself in just a second, but a couple quick housekeeping notes before we get going. This webinar is being recorded, so after the webinar, a recording will be distributed out to all of you. For those of you that are SEPAs, it'll also be posted online in the Member Center under the Content Library, where you can go back and reference that at a later date as well. Secondly, everyone is muted today, as with all of our webinars, so if you do have questions, and questions are certainly encouraged, those can be entered in the question box or the chat box in the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. I will be monitoring that for Christine and will pose those questions to her at the end, but feel free to type them in as we go, and we will address as many of those as possible before the time runs out for today, and if necessary, we can follow up with you afterward. So again, thank you for attending. Thank you, Christine, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Josh. As Josh mentioned, I'm Christine Hollinden, Principal and Founder of Hollinden Marketers and Strategists, located here in Houston, Texas. We help professional service firms achieve their growth goals by creating and implementing marketing strategies and tactics, including the plethora of digital marketing efforts like websites, social media, e-marketing, marketing automation, and a multitude of growth strategies. I've been involved, as Josh mentioned, with the Exit Planning Institute for a number of years, and I'm excited about the opportunity to be with you today. With that, I'd like to welcome you to Marketing Solutions and Strategies for Professional Advisors. So today's webinar will focus on three main things, and that is calculating the number of leads you need to achieve your goals and really creating that baseline for growth. We'll talk about a handful, but literally dozens of marketing channels and tactics to support that growth. And I'll share a few of my favorite tools to help you automate your efforts and leverage your time. Now, the beginning of the process isn't too unlike what you probably go through with your clients when you're talking about exit strategy. I know that all of you look at their sales and talk about where those sales are coming from, how they get them. So before you jump into how you can market your practice, begin with those revenue goals. What are the revenue goals of your practice? How many new clients do you need to meet that goal? In my experience, our clients often think they need a target list a mile long and should be working hundreds of opportunities in order to close new business. That is typically not the case. By taking a process-driven approach to sales forecasting, you can easily determine which leads to focus on, more accurately predict revenue, and make a plan to effectively and efficiently use the resources at your disposal. By doing this, you're going to determine which deals you will need to prioritize, which opportunities, and just like it does for your clients, it helps you get a better handle on predicting revenue streams. So how do you go about that? As I mentioned, you want to start with your revenue goals. If you have revenue from multiple service lines or have multiple offices, then you want to estimate the revenue by service line or geographic region. And if you have both, you want to estimate the revenue by service line and geographic region. So as you can see in this chart, we've just started, I made some assumptions. We just start with the revenue and I've put it out for the final quarter of this year. Then we go into what is the average deal size or average revenue by client. And again, if you have multiple revenue streams, you want to look at that average deal size or average revenue by client by service line or service sector or geographic region, however you want to split it up. So you want to make a note then about any variables in terms of, for example, the length of time over which revenues are paid, like what are the deal terms or the consulting terms that you might have, any other variables that impact the receipt of revenues. Then you divide the average revenue into the revenue goals, the revenue variables, to get the number of clients needed to achieve that particular revenue goal. So now in this example, I've used $20,000 per month as a revenue goal, $10,000 as the average deal size. Now, at the onset, it would look like, well, you just need 2 deals a month. That's what you need to have in-house. But if you look at the assumptions that I put, let's just say that the average client pays out over approximately a 4-month time period. So you're getting $2,500 per month, not $10,000. And so if you take that further, you'll look to see you need 8 working deals to achieve that revenue goal per month. Now, you then go into the revenue, the lead close ratio. So what is the, for example, I'm using, for instance, a 25% close ratio. What I see is in professional service firms and exit planners specifically, those close ratios can vary dramatically. A lot of firms will have close ratios well below 15%. They'll have 10 to 15%, 20% close ratios. Other firms that are highly focused will have close ratios in upward of 75%. So I've just used kind of a low-end close ratio of 25%. Then if you do the math, you'll see you need about 32 active targets per month in order to achieve that revenue stream. Now, again, in my experience, most advisors do not have a clear understanding of what this number really needs to be, and therefore tend to try to work too many leads. If that sounds like you, believe me, you're not alone. I see this all over the country, this same issue in professional service firms across the board. The trick is, if there is one, is to start with a solid understanding of what you really need to achieve the goals you've set forth. Then I want you to move to your target audience. So once you've gone through those kind of calculations and say, this is how many deals I need to close or have active in order to meet my revenue goals, you want to look at your target market and start by analyzing your current practice. Who are your current clients? Who are the current prospects? What do they want from you? What do you do that they need? What motivates them to buy in general, buy these services in general, and what motivates them to buy from you. Now, not everyone is part of your target audience, you know that. So you need to clarify the target audience and segment them based on demographic and psychodemographic elements or characteristics. So that could be industry sectors, age, gender, geographic location, industry, as well as those psychodemographics like motivations and needs. But another important question to ask if you're focused on growing your practice is, are the kind of clients and prospects you currently have on your books or are working the kind that you want? And that means, by kind, I mean type and size that you want for the future. If you're introducing a new service line or expanding to a new geographic region, this may warrant focusing on a different type of prospect. But in a lot of firms that are trying to grow, we find that their current client base are not what they want to, are not what will allow them to achieve the kind of growth they want to achieve. They're typically too small of clients, and they need to do what I call move up the food chain. So with this analysis about where you are, get a great understanding of where you are and then where you need to go, so that you're not just continuously talking to the same type of people when you may need to make a change or make a shift. So from there, you want to move to the development of what's called buyer personas. This takes your target audience analysis to the next level. Lots of marketing buzz is around these days about building out buyer personas. It's everywhere you look. A buyer persona, simply put, is a visual and verbal description of your target audience or audiences if you have more than one. Now, sometimes people refer to this as an avatar. Whatever you call it, it's a semi-fictional characterization based on research, experience, and data. I like to think of it like an expanded LinkedIn profile. You want to give your buyer personas a name, an age, a gender, likes, dislikes, the firm, a role, anything you can do to bring that target audience, that persona to life. The more realistic you make it, the more focused your marketing efforts are going to be. This technique helps you keep that specific audience and their characteristics in mind as you move toward developing your messages and understanding their behavior, how they move through the buying cycle, helps you in channel selection, helps you in identify and select marketing tactics. But I use personas as a litmus test for everything marketing and sales related. So you can go back once you develop this kind of persona. Let me show you an example. Here's owner Ollie. So he said he's the business owner of a manufacturing firm, $10 million in revenue. He founded the company. He has a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Distribution. He's 65 years old, married, 3 grown children. We've given him goals to retire within the next 5 years. He wants to maximize the value of the business and ultimately sell it. Then the challenges, though. So once we've analyzed that firm, we see very little documentation. He probably has very little time. He may be moving very quickly, has a lot on his plate, very hard to get his attention. He might be the lead salesperson, so he's really stressed for time, probably has outdated systems. And you want to build out this persona so you really understand their psyche, where they're coming from, how they move through the buying cycle, how they look and absorb, look at, find, and absorb information, how they make those buying decisions, who they trust, where they turn to, what tools they use. So are they getting electronic information? Are they looking out toward their network? Are they looking at industry publications? Anything and everything you can build around their characteristics and their behaviors will help you really understand your target audience a lot better. And then once you, as I mentioned, once you come back with and develop your marketing efforts and refine them, this is the litmus test. You can come back to this, say, does this match this target audience member? Does this match my persona? Does this fit who they are and where they're getting their information and how they want to receive it? Because remember, it's not about how you want to receive information, what the phrases you want to use. It's about what will resonate with your target audience. You know now who your audience is, how they want to buy. You have some demographic and psychodemographic profile in the persona. You know how to locate them. Now you're ready to articulate your position. Every firm, every practitioner must take a position. You have something that is unique to who you are, how you do things, how you approach the client projects, how you work with clients. There's something that is unique to you and should be validated and should be articulated. Now, positioning is a concept that's often misused and misunderstood. It begins with a perception of the major issues, needs, or opportunities within the market and your firm's or your ability to respond to those needs. A positioning statement in and of itself is just a well-crafted message that defines and projects the firm's ability to serve client needs or solve their issues with a touch of personality added in. Yes, you have a personality, whether you want to admit it or not. There are two goals of positioning. One is to differentiate your brand by positioning it to be seen as having no or very few credible substitutes. In other words, they can't find a lot of people who do what you do in the way that you do them. And the second one is the goal is to create market penetration. It's to be known in your market. When you say this positioning statement, keep in mind it's not about answering all their questions that they might have. It is to spark interest and begin a conversation. So you want to encourage people to ask questions and get them intrigued about working with you. So here are some essential elements in terms of best-in-class positioning statements. Target customer or target client. That concise, you want to go back to the persona and develop a concise summary of the attitudinal and demographic description of the target group of customers your brand is attempting to appeal and attract. Market definition. What categories your brand competing in and in what context does your brand have relevance to your customers? Now, one thing to keep in mind as professionals is you shouldn't just narrow this market definition to other exit planners. Where else could they be seeking this type of information? Where else could they be seeking guidance? Regardless of whether it is the level of guidance that you would use and give to them. So by that I mean, they can do, in some instances, doing nothing. Just delaying is part of that market. It's what you compete against, their hesitation, their delays. In another sense, they could go get advice from, say, their banker, or maybe a CPA that's not well versed in exit planning. They could seek advice from maybe a CEO group or something else that really doesn't understand the financial aspects and the terms like you do. So even the alternatives that may not be optimal solutions could fall within that market definition. Then you go to brand promise. What is the most compelling emotional and rational benefit to your target clients that you and only you can deliver? And then give them the reason to believe. What's the most compelling evidence that you actually can deliver on that brand promise? So when you go through those four elements, target client, market definition, brand promise, and reason to believe, then you can start crafting your positioning statement. So here's kind of a formula for you. You start with what? We're the only, or we're a leading, we are the, and you fill in the blank in the category. Then you move to how. That, here's your differentiation statement. Who, this is for whom, which kind of clients, which categories of clients, types, industry sectors. Where, you can put that into your statement in terms of geographic location. Why, who, this is your need statement. Why do they need you? Who need this? And then when. So if there's underlying trends or if something might motivate them to take action to hire someone like yourself. So you can start with this formulaic approach and then work on the wording to make it easier to say, easy to remember, and attention-getting. You just want to avoid getting too cliche or too salesy. And there are a lot of good examples out there. I actually like to look to some of the major consumer brands because they have honed the art of positioning and messaging, which is the next section that we're going to get to. So in messaging, it's the concept that expresses the value of your brand and encourages prospects to engage with your firm. It should be documented before you jump into implementing different tactics. And the way to achieve solid messaging is start with one overarching or overriding message. What's the one thing that you want to be known for and that people should know about your firm? Then you want to move into sub-messages. Now, messages can be distinguished between, say, target audiences, or delineated between target audiences, maybe service lines, maybe your audience sectors or your referral sources. So you might have variations on the theme, but regardless, your entire firm should know the message and use it across all mediums, whether you post to social media or introduce yourself to a prospect at a networking event. It's the same underlying messages, although one or two words here may be slightly different. I want you to think in short phrases and use phrases that will impel them to ask questions and help you stand out from the crowd. So a couple of examples I pulled from an exit planner that, so they have, here's a couple of examples. We have helped business owners like yourself build strategies that drive growth. It kind of sounds simple, but there's an identifier. So if I were, as a business owner, I would read that. We have helped business owners. You want some part of your message to where they say, oh, that's me. They're talking to me. And then like yourself. Okay, like yourself. That's a great phrase to use in a networking, like yourself. So then it's like, I'm talking to you. Build strategies. Oh, I get it. Okay, the building blocks. And drive growth. Okay, that enables the person receiving this message to say, is my problem strategies? Am I in the market for growth? Then another sample of the messaging. We work with a selective client base to help realize their dreams. So this is a little inspirational in the way it's worded. So, and they probably in their onboarding process then ask their clients about their vision, what they would like to achieve, what are their dreams in terms of exiting this business, what's the next phase of their life. So when this firm uses these phrases, then they expand upon what each of these seemingly simple messages actually mean by expanding on that theme, and they do so very well throughout their website. This lays the groundwork, really understanding how many targets you need, really understanding that target audience, and then honing your messaging. So that builds this groundwork so to enable you to move into very specific marketing strategies to develop your practice. There are so many available today, everything from video to trade shows to direct mail to content. But I wanted today to focus on 5 specific strategies that work well for professional advisors. One is content, then we're going to move to website, search engine optimization or SEO, social media marketing, and of course, networking or your specific network. Let's cover content first. The best way to market your practice is to create and publish content. Now, the content can take a variety of forms, such as blogs or videos, presentations, articles, podcasts, newsletters, e-blasts, etc. But remember, experts have opinions and a point of view. Experts have opinions and a point of view. Experts speak, experts get published, experts have their opinions sought out. It is imperative for professional advisors to position themselves as an expert within their realm. That's where that point of view comes into play. Now, there are many ways to get this done, because one of the most common complaints that I hear is simply not enough time. One simple way is just to schedule an hour a week just for content. Select your most productive hour and get your space ready. Where do you write? Where can you create content? The best, optimal content. The key is to limit interruptions. So turn off the email notifications, turn off the calendar reminders. Find yourself a quiet, focused place where you will not be interrupted. Find a method that works for you. Some people like to write it out longhand. Some people get on their computer and start banging away. Other people like to talk it out. If you're one that can just talk off the cuff and come up with ideas, record it. There's so many ways to record it on your phone or your computer these days, and you can do a brain dump and then turn that over to somebody else to turn it into that blog or video script or a presentation or a podcast, etc. You can read current industry or financial news pertinent to your target audience and then add some commentary. So it's not like you have to create this whole new topic from scratch. Pick a topic that's of interest. Pick something that's in the current news or impacting their industry or their sector or business owners. And then talk about that. Add your spark to it. Write about topics that are of interest to your clients, your target audience. Most importantly, though, it's important to be consistent. You must be consistent in terms of production. Now, this doesn't mean you have to produce an article every day. You can start by concentrating on, say, creating a 2,000-word article on a single topic where you can do a deep dive. Now, it helps if that topic has multiple sections or steps that you're talking about, or multiple elements, because you can really dive into each of those specific areas of focus within that article. But here's the trick, and why I say, start with just one that you develop, say, every month or every quarter. Analyze that article and then identify the key points you make throughout the article. You can use one single piece to derive months of content if you just start with a bigger article versus trying to do a multitude of 300, 400, 500 word blogs or articles here and there. So you analyze the article, identify the key points. If you made multiple points or list multiple steps, each point or step could then be a separate blog or a jumping off point for a social media post or a podcast of its own or a little video clip. Look for elements of the article in which you can take then an even deeper dive, or where there are tangents to that topic, other things that they may want to consider. But always maintain a consistent point of view and a consistent tone. So if you're conversational, if you're formal by nature, you want to maintain that kind of tone so they get the same kind of experience. The next thing is a website. In today's business environment, a website is far and away the most important tactic to get right. Every few years, trends and practices change, so if you haven't updated your website recently, you need to get to it. Your website doesn't have to be super expensive or have a ton of bells and whistles to be an efficient lead generating machine. But there are a few constants that all websites these days should include. So they should include a very current design and be responsive. Does the look and feel show a professional firm? Does it make visitors feel welcome? Does it load quickly? Is it mobile friendly? All of those are just must-haves these days. They must have consistently updated content. This may be the most important component of any website. It is what makes people stay on your site and visit again and again and again, because we know that prospects don't always make an immediate decision. Some of them kind of circle for a while and they think about it. In some instances, probably longer than we want to think about, but you want to stay top of mind. There are a number of ways to create compelling content. You can do it yourself, or you can hire someone. I mean, our firm creates a lot of content. So you can, as I mentioned, get the content started. You can do an outline. You can do just a brain dump, a data dump into an audio format, and then send it to a writer to put it into that form. Another thing you want in your website is a positive user experience. So you want to think about how they move through the site, what the navigation looks like. Is it intuitive? Is it easy to follow the structure? The more simple the navigation, the better. Have forms on your website. Forms allow people to sign up, subscribe, or download documents from your site. This is how you can capture leads and see which content on your site is performing well. Make sure that if you have a newsletter or e-blast that you send out and you have a sign-up form on your website, that sign-up form is easy to find. Don't bury it 3 or 4 levels deep in your website. And finally, here's one that seems like it should be just a given, but it is amazing to me how many sites these days still exist where you have to hunt for contact information. Your site will do you absolutely no good if there's no way for interested visitors to get in touch with you easily. So don't forget that all-important phone number and email address. And you need to think about the user, go back to that user experience, the navigation, see where that contact information is located. Because if you're making a call to action within your site and you're saying, you should download this white paper, and they're interested, or watch this webinar, this podcast, and they have an interest right then, they should be able to immediately contact you. Websites these days, just for budgetary reasons, on average, you can budget anywhere from about $5,000 to about $15,000 on the development and implementation of a new website. You could get a little bit lower than that if you have good content. But for the most part, that's probably what most firms are looking at, somewhere in that range. Then there is search engine optimization. A great website is useless if people can't find you. Search engine optimization, or SEO as we like to call it, is how you get found online. There are a number of factors that go into it, but I'm going to hit a few of the big ones today. The first thing is search engine results pages, or SERPs, S-E-R-P-S. These are the end result of a search. So you go to Google, you type in, say, exit planners in Houston, and you get the results. I did a search for exit planners in Houston. It produced 9.69 million results. Now, they may not all be relevant, but what comes up on the first couple of pages is what Google has determined is the most relevant to that search string. So this page of these results, all these pages of these 9.69 million results, is what Google calls the search engine results page, or pages. They have analytics on almost all websites that exist. They know if someone searches for how to sell my business, or if someone went to an exit planner site and completed a form, or if someone didn't like the result, those 9.69 million results they got, and they went back to the results, the search bar, and started over. Maybe they expanded their search. Basically, Google has the answer to whether a web page is relevant or not, and will show the results accordingly. Google also knows if your website was built with a solid user experience. They know if your site's slow. They know if your website contains what's considered spam. They know if you take money, whether your site is secure for transactions. They know if you have broken links or broken pages or missing pages. They continuously place judgment as to whether or not your website contains relevant information and is user-friendly. They are their own judicial system. So they are judge and jury. That's how it works. A poor user experience negatively impacts your search rankings. They are the game in search, and they control the game. Their algorithms control the game. Another area is this mobile versus desktop. I've already touched on this briefly, on the importance of mobile friendly or having a responsive website, but it's also a factor in how Google ranks your website. Today, more than half of all web visits occur on a mobile device of some sort. They know if your site's friendly for phones or tablets, and because Google wants to give good results, that's their focus, is to help you find what you're looking for and give you the best results possible. They know if your site is not optimized for a cell phone or for some sort of mobile device, and it won't show as a result for search from a phone. So if your site isn't already optimized, isn't mobile friendly, they will not show it. So if John Smith does a search on Google from his phone, the results will be changed to mostly websites that are formatted to fit a phone. Now that's how it worked at first. So now they have executed and implemented what they call mobile first indexing. So if you're searching from your phone, Google recognizes that device or other mobile device, and they are going to index first those sites that are mobile friendly, that are responsive. So it is the mobile experience of your website is more of a ranking factor and has more importance than your desktop version of your site. It's not an afterthought anymore. Then there's location. Have you noticed that Google Maps often displays at the top of the results page when you do a search? That's because Google now takes into consideration your physical location when returning search results. So, if you search for pizza in Columbus, Ohio, you'll get a different search result than if you search that same term in Houston, obviously, because it's recognizing where you're located. They try to make the result relevant based on where you are physically located. Now, in addition, the location listings are heavily controlled by Google's understanding of where a business is located. Now, it's kind of silly to expect Google to know where your business is located. So unless you can specifically tell Google your address, there is a way, and there's a very simple method to claim your address. And where this kind of gets complicated is if you have multiple offices, if the name of your road or street address is abbreviated multiple ways, or maybe referred to in different abbreviations or different kinds of ways, depending upon who's talking about that location. So you can go into Google and search, and then you can claim actually your location, and it'll help you get found. Another aspect is social media. When you decide to integrate social media into your marketing mix, give consideration as to the role you want the specific channels to play. In reality, no one's going to hire your firm or you because of a tweet or post. They're not going to read some tweet or post and go, oh my, that's the best tweet or post I've ever read in my life. I'm hiring this exit planner. That's not how it works. However, social media plays an important role in today's marketing strategies for several reasons. One, it helps you build brand awareness, just being known and getting out there, getting the words out there, because people do search. Even if they're referred to you, they're going to go search. And the more they can find, and those posts that you make on social media will come up, so the more they can find, the better. It improves search engine ranking, so the more you can drive people back to your website, the better it is. So anytime you post, as much as possible, instead of just posting a question or just posting a comment or reposting an article, drive traffic back to your website. Put that article over add a commentary, and put part of your commentary on your website, and then add a link to the rest of the article, but direct people from your social channels over to your website. That'll improve your search engine rankings. It helps you demonstrate culture and, as I mentioned, drive that web traffic to your site. But it also can create engagement. So let me dive into a couple of commonly used social channels. The first is LinkedIn. This works very well for exit planners if used correctly. It's still the #1 business networking social media site in the world. In fact, it's estimated 40% of LinkedIn users check the site on a daily basis. You need to have a presence on LinkedIn, and you can do that several ways. You can have a personal profile and you can have a company page. Make sure you have a complete profile and a complete description on your company page. Fill it out as much as you can. Your personal profile should include your current position, your past experience, your education, your skills, a description. Make sure it's interesting, not just exit planner, not just CBA. That's not interesting. You want to show them your personality. Your profile should have an interesting company description, something that would make them want to call you and say, this is the kind of firm that I want to work with. These are the kind of people I want to work with. You want to identify industry and areas of focus and include a link to your website. Then build your network. Now, if you don't have enough contacts within your own network, you can build that network by joining LinkedIn groups that are specific to your target industry or interests. You can follow thought leaders, connect with those in your industry or those in your client's industry. And you want to treat your online network like you would your personal network. So introduce yourself to others and ask to be introduced. It's a two-way street. You want to, in thinking about what you post, and so you want to be active on LinkedIn, but you want to engage. So post helpful and educational information. This is not the place to post lots and lots of salesy information. In fact, if you measured it over the course of the year, any kind of direct sales information should be approximately less than 10% of everything that you post. If you edge up too much more than that, you're going to be seen as salesy and people tune out. So think about what your target audience needs, what's impacting them, how you can answer their questions, share links to your content, direct that traffic back to your all-important website. Make it easy for followers to engage with your posts simply by asking questions. A simple technique, ask a one-question survey. Oh, as a business owner, what do you think is the most important blah, blah, blah? One simple question, then post the results. Then you can talk about that. That can lead to other content. Most importantly, though, demonstrate your knowledge. Your knowledge leadership is shown by sharing content and linking back to your site. That'll improve your search engine optimization and your search engine rankings. This is your chance to really showcase what you know and share it through good, solid content. Now, this content, as I mentioned, it can be a blog, an article, a video series, podcast, a webinar, a simple video. Whatever you produce can make sure to be genuine and, above all, have a point of view. Express your opinion. You don't want to get argumentative or anything like that, but you want to say, here's what I think people should do, or here's how I think this impacts our clients or our prospects. Then there's Facebook. Facebook is a good place to build and demonstrate the personality and culture of your firm. They've made some changes recently that'll make it harder for brands to appear in the news feed, but it's still a worthwhile channel in which to engage. Now, there's lots of, if you've read any of the current news, there's lots of discussion about Facebook, going back to its roots, everything. But here's the reality. Facebook makes money from brands and from companies posting content and links to sell things and promote their goods and services. That's how they make their money. They don't make their money by me posting pictures of my cats. That doesn't make them a nickel. So, if we follow the money there, I don't think they're ever going to eliminate that element of the business aspect of Facebook, because they would be eliminating all revenue streams. But what you want to do is build out on your business page in Facebook the navigation tabs. You can customize the tabs to highlight specific products or services, newsletters, testimonials, case studies, or content. That helps drive this traffic and highlight that kind of content. You want to be visual, so add visual content. So when you're posting updates, catchy status updates are good, but visual content is better. So take a photo, add a visual element to it, anything that you can do to engage. Post videos or images, customize your posts to demonstrate your brand personality. You can still boost and advertise really good content. So if you want to increase visibility, you can boost it. The costs are minimal. You can spend $20, $25. You can spend less than that if you want. And you can really increase views, which expands your network. Monitor industry leaders and competitors. Not to mimic them and not to copy what they're doing, but to keep tabs on the industry. How and where is your industry moving? You want to be ahead of the curve. So what are they talking about? Why are they talking about that particular topic? And then, as I've alluded to, showcase the culture. Particularly if you're looking for people to join your firm, you want to showcase your all-important culture. This is how you portray yourself on Facebook is a direct correlation with how the public views you. It's a great recruiting tool if you're looking for talent. Now, if you have limited time, which most people do, and limited resources, and you can only do one, start with LinkedIn, build it out, become a leader on LinkedIn, master that channel, and then you can progress to Facebook. Now, if you're going to do that, you have a Facebook or a Twitter page that you can't get to, and you're starting with LinkedIn, my advice is to just disable the Facebook or Twitter feed for the time being. It's worse to have really old content on there than not to have one at all. The next area that I want to talk about is networking. Now, another tool you can utilize to grow your practice is networking. To get results from networking, you must plan. It's as simple as that. Too often, I hear clients and prospects talk about the different networking events they attend and all the networking groups to which they belong. But when we look at their client base and how optimal clients were obtained, seldom were those networking activities producing results. Activity does not equal results. Just like busy doesn't equal profits or busy doesn't equal revenue, activity does not equal results when it comes to networking. You should have a clear vision of the type of people you'd like to meet and compare each networking event to the optimal client description. If the event doesn't put you in a position to meet or get introduced to an optimal or ideal client, or meet or get introduced to an optimal or ideal referral source, then skip it. It's not a good use of your time. Once you've identified the events, you want to go with a plan. Make introductions, looking for people who are not engaged in conversation. Strike a conversation, bring them into your conversation, introduce them to others, introduce the people you've just met to other people. Be the central point of introductions. People want to know. Be the person they want to know. You'll be viewed as the superconductor. But you want to, at an event, move with purpose. Go prepared with conversation, entrance, and exit strategies before you attend an event. You can even go so far as to prepare questions you might ask. For example, you could, an introduction might say, "Hi, my name is Justin Smith with ABC Firm." They'll obviously introduce themselves and then follow up with a question like, how'd you get into the industry? Or what's the biggest thing impacting your business these days? Or what do you enjoy most about your line of work? So what do you enjoy most outside of work? The idea is to build rapport, not to sell. Networking events are not about long conversations. If the conversation is getting too in-depth, then exchange business cards and set a time to follow up and continue the conversation. Say something like this: Sue, I'm really enjoying our conversation and want to continue it when we have ample time to dive in deeper to our discussion. Then if you have a smartphone, look at your calendar to set a date. If not, try something like, I'll send you an email with dates and times next week so that we may coordinate schedules. Shake her hand and move on. Preparing those exit strategies are just as important as your overall strategy for the event. Finally, have a follow-up plan prepared. I want you to take notes on their business card or in the notes section of your smartphone. But I recommend drafting a follow-up email before you go to the event. Then block time on your calendar the following morning for follow-ups. Starting with the draft and then personalizing the message based on the conversation will help you get those out in a timely manner. The longer you wait, the colder the opportunity, and the less likely they are to remember you. So here's a few tools I want to highlight, since I know this may seem a bit overwhelming. Some of you may be thinking, how am I possibly going to get all this done when I'm so busy already? But I do want to grow my practice. So there are a number of tools out there that can help you leverage your time and automate marketing efforts. Of course, you can always reach out to a firm like ours. So HubSpot. This is a marketing automation tool. We're a big fan of HubSpot at Hollinden. We have a number of clients that use the platform, and in fact, we use it ourselves. For those that don't know, this inbound marketing and sales software helps companies attract visitors, convert leads, and close engagements. It's a user-friendly cloud-based platform that includes everything from content management to deal tracking and social media schedule. And it has a free CRM. You can literally work straight from HubSpot to do a lot of your marketing, if not all your marketing efforts. I'm able to send and track emails and phone calls made to clients and prospects. We can set up trigger events or workflows, marketing workflows, and HubSpot even has its own website platform. As the certified HubSpot partner, I'm happy to set up a demo for you or give you more information about it. But here's a tip. If you're a sole practitioner of a small firm, start with the free CRM and the basic marketing hub, and you can add the basic sales tool to that. It's no or low cost to get started with some of their basic tools. The integration is superb. Now, some other tools that you might want to use before I wrap up this webinar today is meeting scheduling software. If you're not using a meeting scheduling software like TimeTrade or Calendly, you should. You can attach it to your email signature or in the body of emails. You put it on your website. You can do all kinds of things with it, allowing people to click and schedule a meeting. It won't show all your meetings. It'll just show when you have availability. And then you can set parameters for specific kinds of meetings. So, if it's a prospect meeting, you maybe want to set an hour, and you might want to set 30 minutes on either side of that prospect meeting for preparation and debrief. Social media scheduling. If you're not going to use a tool like HubSpot, you can use a tool such as Buffer or Hootsuite. Analytics are imperative. Google Analytics should be installed on your website. If it's not, do it today. And Google Webmaster Tools or DataBox, which is a separate company, have amazing analytics capabilities and reporting capabilities, so you can see if the marketing efforts you're implementing are working. We use these tools ourselves, and they help tremendously with efficiency and effectively to get the job done. Now, let's take a breath. I know I've covered a lot of information in a very short amount of time. This is the tip of the marketing iceberg, but I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Christine. Looks like we already have one question, but if anyone else out there has questions, do type them in now. We'll get Christine to answer them. We have about 5 minutes left in our time slot. So first question in here now is, Christine, do you have any data or anecdotal info on the percentage of business owners who look for or search for an exit planner or consultant doing an internet search versus other methods like referrals and things like that?
Yeah. I don't have that. That's a really good question. I don't have that specific percentage in front of me, but I can get it. And Josh, what I can do is send that information, and then we can publish it someplace. So I can get you that specific data and that specific percentage in terms of search strings for certain types of like exit planners or certain types of search strings, and tell you how often that phrase is searched. But here's the deal too that you have to remember. Even if they are referred to you, what we see and what the research has shown is that the first stop for most people, the vast majority of people, is they will go to their smartphone or their computer, they'll go to Google and they'll do a search before they call you.
Okay.
So even if they're going to call you and they've been referred by someone they trust, they're probably going to search you anyway just to find out a little information about you, or just to see what you look like. See if they can find your picture someplace so that if they're going to meet you, they have a visual.
Okay, great. Another question, maybe if you flip back a slide, I would answer it. Someone asked, so what the Google Analytics, and what was the other tool you referenced?
Sure. So Google Analytics, there's also Google Webmaster Tools, which give you, it's a tool of the trade, but anybody can use it. Google Webmaster Tools. It gives you a little bit deeper analytics and greater reporting than just the Google Analytics itself. And the other one that I don't have listed here, but it's called DataBox. DATABOX, DataBox. Really strong on analytics, taking those, and a strong reporting tool.
Okay. Another question quickly is, LinkedIn is great, but they're increasingly limiting how much you can do with a free account. Do you have any thoughts on whether the premium LinkedIn account is worth it?
So, yes. If you are reaching out beyond your network on a frequent basis, the premium account is worth it. I have the premium account. I got the premium account actually years ago when I taught social media at the university level. And so I could show the back end of what you get. But if you're sending, it does allow you to send out messages and reach outside of your network. So when they made this, they kind of took away the visual for us to see the third degree connections very clearly. So it used to be where you could see, I wanted to meet Luke, and if I did a search on Luke and he was a third degree connection, I could trace how I could get to Luke by seeing other people's connections, and they've cut off that third degree from a clarity perspective. So the thing to do with LinkedIn, one, make sure you have an open network. Think of it like tentacles. So who do you want to meet? Where are you trying to get to? What kind of industry? And then who can get you further into that industry sector and build those connections for you. What I see most often in LinkedIn networks when I analyze people's networks is they're often closed networks, meaning that you're kind of talking to yourself. So you can get a lot out of the free account if you really focus on building your network, and I would do that first. But if you're doing that very actively and reaching out beyond, it's worth it.
Okay, great. Well, we're up against time. There was another couple of questions that came in. I will go ahead and forward those, make sure Christine gets those so she can reach out to you directly to answer them. But I do want to be conscious of everyone's time today. So this webinar was recorded. That was a question, so we'll distribute a recording and it'll be in the Member Center if you're a SEPA. So I want to thank all of you for attending. I especially want to thank Christine for taking the time in between her travels to present today. For those of you coming to the summit, look for her there. If you're not, feel free to reach out to her via the contact info on your screen now. She's certainly the first place we're going to direct anyone that comes to us looking for this type of support. So absolutely a great resource and very happy to have her as a partner of EPI. So with that, we'll wrap
Josh,
up. Yep.
Josh, I wanted to say one more thing. Just if you go to our website, we have a lot of free content available about all types of marketing topics, and be sure to check that out.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again so much, Christine. Thank you all for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.